So the streets are talking, Victor.
Hey,
get him, daddy.
Don't you walk on me.
Victor, what's up, man?
Ace, what's up, man?
How's everything?
It's good, man. How you doing today?
I'm good, brother. You getting your stuff set up? You got it recorded, right?
Yeah, we're going. Yep, we're all good. I just ran the levels with my cousin, and we're good to go.
Okay.
Man, I'm so excited for this interview, bro. I've been hyped. Like, you have no idea, dude. I've been a fan of yours for going on like 20 years, and this is like
a long time.
It's a long time, man. And you've been killing it this whole time. It's like, you're just an absolute legend, man. So I have so many questions for you. So I'm just going to dive right into it because I know, your time is super valuable and I really appreciate you calling in.
No problem.
But where did the love of music start for you? Where did this all begin for you?
I think the love of music in general started in my living room when I was growing up in the projects in Brownsville, Brooklyn, because in my living room was a stereo system, speakers, and 3 or 4 long rows of vinyl. And my mom used to play, Earth, Wind and Fire and Gladys Knight and the Pips and Minnie Riperton and Mickey Howard. So there was always music playing in the background of my childhood. And as a kid, you're not really playing. You're playing whatever game you're playing and watching cartoons or whatever. But I would usually find myself just passing the time by picking up the albums, looking through them, looking at the covers, looking at the the artwork and stuff like that. Like Earth, Wind and Fire had some really interesting artwork. Mandrill was another group that she had a few albums of, and Brass Construction. Like, these are all just albums that I remember looking at as a kid. So when I see those covers now, it immediately takes me back to that time. But I want to say that my first love of music probably started right there in my living room.
That's beautiful. What year did you write your first rhyme? When did that start? Hey, listeners. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Brooklyn Fishing Club podcast. If you enjoy the show and want to rep your favorite show in style, check out our official merch shop. We've got everything from cozy hoodies to sleek jackets, graphic tees, and even backpacks perfect for your daily grind. Whether you're binging episodes or just want to elevate your streetwear game, our gear is made for comfort, style, and showing love for the BFC podcast. Plus, our gear is now shipping worldwide. Head over to brooklynfishingclub.com and grab your favorite one today. Thanks for supporting the show and looking great while doing it.
So I wrote something that was more like I didn't know it was a rhyme. I mean, it wasn't a rap. It was a rhyme, but it wasn't a rap. But I wrote this thing when I was I want to say it was like 6th grade, and it was some little silly story, but it was like weird because it was a poem, but when I read it and said it, it was more like it had a rhythm to it. And so I don't know where that came from, but what made it kind of stick with me or stand out to me is that my grandmother saved it. She could put it on a nightstand next to her bed, and I would sometimes go in there looking for some gum or whatever, and I would find the poem there. And I would read it. I'm 7th, 8th grade. I'm like, oh, my grandmother still got this little, thing that I wrote when I was young. And I would read it, put it back in the nightstand. But something about her saving it kind of, maybe in a way, it was like validation.
Yeah.
That I didn't realize at the time, but it was worth it for her to save it. So that stood out to me. And so if I was to say that was my first rhyme, in a way, I guess it was, because I do remember it having some sort of a rhythm to it.
That's amazing. Do you still have that somewhere?
Nah, I wish, man.
Oh, man.
I'm not going to even say no. I'm going to say if I do, I wouldn't know where it is, because I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff in bins and boxes from, when my grandmother passed away, my mom took all of her stuff. And then when my mom passed away, I had to take all the stuff out of my mom's crib. So within all of those bins and boxes, that poem could literally be somewhere.
It's got to be somewhere, man.
Yeah, I hope I find it one day.
You will if you look. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff, though. When did it start to, when did you really start to, get into rapping? What was, your biggest influence that made you want to get into it for real and not just... I want to hear about, the progression of it. How does it go from writing that rhyme in 6th grade to, you know, what's the next step? What's high school like? Are you rapping and battling in high school? Like what was
So
it
this, before I even got to high school, junior high, 7th, 8th grade, we started DJing. We were hearing, I don't even know where the information came from, but the idea of, because I used to listen to this radio show called World Famous Supreme Team, and they would actually cut and scratch different break beats on that show. And so when I was in 7th grade, this classmate of mine, this kid named Michael Moore, he was already DJing. Like, he had equipment, and his family, he was the only child. They had money, so he had the full DJ equipment, mixer, everything. And I went to his crib or whatever, and he loaned me the what's it called? Super Disco Beats and Breaks, the one with the octopus on the cover. So those were, he loaned me like 3 volumes. He had like all the volumes. He loaned me like 3 volumes, and I took them home to my crew, and I was like, yo, I got those breaks that we be hearing on Supreme Team, but now we can cut and scratch them ourselves. So it all started with those break beats and me DJing, us DJing as a crew. We would make tapes, 90-minute tapes, each of us cutting and scratching different break beats.
How many people were in the crew?
Oh, it seems like 5 of us.
You still talk to any of them?
Yeah, Steady Pace ended up being my DJ. When I first came out with my first album,
Oh, okay.
he rolled with me as my DJ because out of our crew, he was the dopest one. And when the Transformer scratch came out, when Jazzy Jeff and all those guys from Philly started doing that Transformer scratch, that's when I got canceled out because I could not do that. And Steady picked it up immediately, and I was like, I gotta do something else because if I can't figure this out, I'm done. So I decided to start doing some little raps. So I would like emulate the raps that I would hear on tapes floating around Brooklyn, some of them from uptown in Harlem, some of them from the Bronx. And I would basically take those rhymes that those guys were saying at those parties, switch them up. You know, I would take the same cadence, some of the same words, but I would always change it up and put my words in place of their words, or my name in place of their name. And that's how I started. I started just kind of like rewriting raps that I heard on mixtapes and stuff. And that was the beginning for me.
So that was like high school?
No, not even yet. Not even.
Oh, wow.
I was like, this is like 8th grade.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah. When I got the Disco Beats and Breaks from Mike, his name was DJ Kid Stark, was the DJ name. But when I got those from him, I was in 7th, and we would started making tapes. And so I bought my first turntable around that same time because we wanted our own setup. So I bought a turntable. Somebody else bought a mixer. Somebody else had another turntable. We put our own little, setup together in my boy Rodney's crib, and we would make tapes. And eventually, around 8th grade, I started adding some lyrics to the tapes. So by the time I got to high school, I was already kind of like getting into my own. I remember taking the bus to high school, long bus ride, and I was writing these long, elaborate raps while I was on the bus going to school in 9th grade. So that was the beginnings of me writing my straight up own stuff. It started there.
So then how does it go from that to getting on the symphony with Marlon Marl?
So, man, it's quite a few years in between there.
Yeah, let's hear about some of the highlights.
Big highlight was high school talent show. My senior year, me and 4 other guys from the football team, we formed a rap crew called the Come Alive 5, and we all wore leather blazers like Run DSC, and we got on stage and performed raps that we wrote, and we ended up winning the contest. And so that was cool, but I'm up there with my teammates. So it's a little easier. Plus we were popular because we were on the football team, so everybody knew us and the girls was cheering for us and all that. So that was easy compared to the next time that I stepped on stage, which was when I was home from college break, going into my just first semester, sophomore year college, Christmas break. And my boy Scooter called me. Scooter was a guy from Brownsville who rapped too. Me and him are like contemporaries. We both thought we were nice. And so he was like, yo, I'm going to this rap contest out in Queens. You want to enter? I'm like, yo, it was Christmas break. So I told him no, because I figured it's Christmas break. Mom's is there, it's dinner. But she overheard the conversation and she was like, yo, you can go. We already ate dinner. It's nothing else going on. And I think she wanted me to just kind of like come out of my shell a little bit and, give me a little bit of independence. At this point, I'm sophomore in college. So she's like, go with your friend. So I met him on the train and we went out there. I remember being on the train. He had a drum machine, one of the first drum machines called a Dr. Rhythm. And I sat there on the train, on the F train, programming the drum patterns to match my rap so that the drums would drop out on the right line, on the key lines in the rhyme. So when we got there, I entered the contest. About 30 other people was in the contest, and I entered and ended up winning. And so first prize was 6 hours of studio time with Marley Marl. So
how hyped are you when you won that?
Well, the second prize was $500, and I thought really that like I could have used that $500 as a broke college student.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah. So it ended up. So this was Christmas break. So the guy from the skating rink, he gave me the phone, Marley Marl's phone number. He's like, "Here's his number," and I called that number for 5 months straight, and his sister would answer. And she would say he's not here, and that became like the pattern. Like for the rest of that whole spring semester, me calling and her saying he's not here. And then after a while, she got to know my voice. She knew my name, and it became like because I was really persistently trying. Because I won the contest. Somebody owes me some studio time, so
right.
I'm being real adamant about it. So at a certain point, she felt sorry for me, and she was like, "You know what? He doesn't live here anymore. Let me give you his real number." And the number I was calling was the number in Queensbridge Projects where his mom's house. At that point, he had already moved to another part of Queens, Astoria, Queens.
Yeah.
But he was still using the Queensbridge apartment for the studio, but he was living somewhere else. So I called him up and, basically he answered. I'm like, "Yo, my name is Ace. I won the contest like 5 months ago at USA and you owe me studio time." So he told me to meet him on a particular day at a particular time. I would get my studio time. So I had to meet him in Queensbridge Project. My first time being out there, taking the train out there. I sat on a bench in front of his building and waited for him.
Wow. Were you alone?
It was me and Steady Pace.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And while we were sitting on that bench, this young kid walks up. He's like, "Yo, y'all waiting for Marley?" He's like, "Yeah." He sat down, started talking to us. He's like, "Yo, my name Craig G. I got that song called Shout Rap."
Oh,
I was
shit.
Like, "Oh, shit." I was like, "Yo, all right." Because I know that everybody knows that record because they were played on BLS all the time. A joint called Shout Rap off the Tears for Fears joint. So I was like, "Oh, okay." He stood out there with us for about an hour and a half talking about everything under the sun. He was like 15 years old, but we chopped it up for a while and then he went on his way. But Marley had us out there about 4.5, 5 hours waiting.
Oh my God.
He eventually came home. Like as it was starting to get dark, he came home and we went up to his apartment and he set me up in one of the bedrooms with MC Shan to do drum programming for me. He's like, "Yo, Joe Shan, take him in there and work on some drums with him." So I'm in there trying to like guide Shan on what I want or whatever. It was a weird first session, but
yeah,
years later, I remember telling that story and Shan said, "If he put you in the room with me, that's because he was just trying to get rid of you and get your hours in." Because he said I didn't know how to work none of that equipment.
Oh man!
So it was he basically was just trying to kind of get rid of me.
So how did he not get rid of you? Like because he could have just written you off after that session, right? I mean,
he owed me 6 hours. We weren't going to get all 6 hours.
Gotcha.
So I came back another day and I recorded my first, I guess, demo. This joint called Power Move, and when he heard it, he must have said to himself, "Yo, this kid is actually kind of dope." And so after I hit my 6 hour mark that summer, he's like, "Yo, when you get back from college, like come back, keep coming back." So that's what I did. After I got my 6 hours in, but he started booking sessions for me to come back. So that whole next junior year, summer, recording demos and joints. A couple of joints I recorded, he actually played on the radio. They didn't come out as records.
That's awesome.
And then my senior year, when I graduated from college, was when he said he wanted me to sign for him to be one of the people on his new album.
That's
More
amazing.
in Control. So I signed my contract right there on his kitchen table.
Wow, that is legendary. That is so legendary. That must have been tough to kind of get a little taste of like the success and also still have to go to college, right? I'm sure there was part of you that was like, "Man, fuck college. Like I'm going to just go do this rap shit."
At no point. So I didn't see any success in me going to the studio. Didn't feel like success to me.
Gotcha.
I just felt like I was just doing something as a hobby or whatever, and I didn't really think that could really turn into anything significant. I was still going to pursue my degree, and I had a marketing degree. I wanted to go into advertising, so I basically when I graduated from college that year, that was when he said he wanted me to, sign his contract and be on his album. We got some small advance. I don't know how much it was, maybe like $1,500 or something. But that was the first time that I actually made money from doing it. It might have been less than $1,500. It's probably something like $500, honestly. But
And he owned all the rights to it?
yeah, it was his album.
Yeah.
Once that album came out, which was 88 of that year, that same year I graduated from college, fall of that year. Once that album came out and I was on a record, then it became, let me see where this goes. You know what I mean? So for the next year, I was just like trying to pursue the next step, which was getting my own single out. And my mom is at the crib asking me what the hell's going on. I got my degree. She was trying to figure out why I'm not going on no job interviews and where's my resume and all these kind of questions.
Yeah, like what did you go to college for? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. It wasn't adding up for her. So that whole year of 89 was kind of like a tug of war with my mom.
And you're still living with her at that point?
I'm still living with her at that point. And so that next year, 1990, which was the year my first album came out, I had been working on it for a while at his crib. And she got frustrated with me because she would leave me like lists of things to do around the house. Get the dry cleaning, clean the bathroom, wash the dishes, do this, do that, feed the cat, stuff like that. So this particular day, I was heading out early. And she would always leave the list of things to do on the refrigerator door. I ended up taking my shower and leaving the house without even going to the refrigerator. So I didn't see her list. So when she got home, she saw nothing had been done. She was pissed off, obviously. I didn't come home till either late that night or the next day, because around that time working on the album, I was spending the night at his crib to record. I was spending the night sometime. Me and Craig would sleep down in the basement. So when I got back home that next day, there was a note on the refrigerator and it was like, I want you out by your birthday.
Oh shit.
So that was 90 and my album was scheduled to come out in fall of 90.
It came out in July though, right?
Did the album drop in July?
It said July 24th, 1990 through Cold Chillin' Records.
Okay, so then my story goes back to, it had to be 89 then. It was 89. So, yeah. So all of this happened in 89 because I moved out before my birthday in 89. Got my own apartment.
You still in Brooklyn?
At that point, I had gotten my advance. Yeah, I was in Brooklyn still.
Nice.
I got my advance, $25,000 is most money I ever got.
There we go.
at one time.
Yeah. What'd you get? What'd you do first with it?
Got my own apartment.
There you go. What'd you do second?
I bought a Chevy Blazer.
Nice.
It was used, but I put some rims on it and got a sound system in it.
Is your first car though?
First car? No, it wasn't my first car. I had a car when I was in college.
Oh, okay. And you went to URI? Is that where you went?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Nice. What'd you think of that experience overall? Was it were there a lot of positive takeaways from that?
It was a culture shock, honestly, when I first got there.
Right.
I actually wanted to transfer after my first year there. I told my mother I can't take it. It's like no black people up here.
Yeah, it's pretty white area up there.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a handful of black people, and all the black students there were on either track team, basketball team, football team.
Yeah.
There was no regular students that looked like me, and I just didn't feel comfortable. Like I went there, I thought I was gonna play football there, but it wasn't looking like that. Anything like that was gonna happen. So I told her I wanted to, transfer after my first year, and she said, "Stick it out for one more semester, sophomore year, and if you still don't like it, then we'll transfer and we'll transfer you." I want to go to Howard. I want to go to the old black school, Howard. I want to go to the opposite of where I was.
Right.
and so, but interestingly enough, that sophomore fall semester, there's a program called talent development in Rhode Island where the school gets funding to basically recruit black students from the state high schools to come to the school. So they get like extra tutoring, and they get the funds to pay for tuition. They get everything kind of like laid out for them so they can have an opportunity to go to college and do something with their lives. So that sophomore year, we had an influx of about 200 to 250 black kids that just came in out of nowhere, which changed the whole social dynamic for me. And because of that program, honestly, that's why I stayed at URI and wound up, doing the 4 years and graduating because of that program. I met a lot of friends from that program too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, still friends with some of those people from college?
Yeah, absolutely. A bunch of them, and they all, other than the guys on the basketball team that I was cool with, the rest of the kids that I was cool with all came from talent development.
Nice. So you drop the first album, take a look around. What's the next step after that? Do you go on tour? What was the move?
First album came out, I went to London for a show, and I did some US shows and stuff like that, but there wasn't really the same. It wasn't really like exciting shows. It was a lot of low turnouts, and I had one song, Me and the Biz, was on the radio. So I got a few shows off that Me and the Biz joint. But when I went to London, that was what really opened my eyes up, because I had records over there that were big records that I didn't know were big records over until I got over there. One was called Letter to the Better, which was a single, which was my first single, which was on Prism, came out before the album came out. Because that single did so well in London, that's how I got my album deal. And then I had another song off the album called I Gotta, which was the B-side to Me and the Biz. And I Gotta blew up in London. So when I got there, it was like a big deal for the London audience because of those two records. I had no clue. And I got booked on a huge show. Well, I actually got booked on a tour. The tour didn't work out because it was with one of these punk rock groups.
Oh yeah,
my manager got me booked on this punk rock tour.
What band was it?
It was a band called Pop Will Eat Itself.
Pop Will Eat Itself.
Yeah,
I like the name. I mean,
their logo kind of looked like a Pepsi logo.
Okay.
They basically took the Pepsi logo and used the PWEI and wrote it like the Pepsi letters.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
But I did one show with those dudes, and it was a bad deal for me because I knew something was up when I walked in, because everybody was dressed in black, had these big shoes on, the spiked hair, the dark eye makeup, and all that.
Just like gothed out. Yeah,
I was like, what's going on? So I get on stage, and I just remember like getting a few boos, and I was like, yo, this is rap music, yo. And then everybody started booing. They started throwing stuff. And I basically said, fuck y'all, and ran off the stage, and stuff was flying everywhere. I left my boy Steady Pace, had to gather his record. So he's ducked down behind the turntable trying to avoid getting hit with shit.
You just left him there?
Yeah, I was out.
I said, out. Yeah, you had seen enough.
So anyway,
yeah.
So after that one show, I called back home, told my manager, I'm not doing no more shows with these dudes. I had one show on that whole tour that was a rap show, which was at the London Arena with Public Enemy and EPMD.
Oh, it must have been insane.
And it was 15,000 people. First time being in front of a crowd of that size. And now, for the first time, I get to see the effects of these two songs that everybody kept telling me were huge records in London. Letter to the Better comes on, and you got like 8,000 people jumping up and down. Like, it's a whole different experience than I had ever had in the U.S. And I tell a lot. I still perform in London to this day, and I always tell the audience, like, you guys actually, you're the reason that I ended up having a career was because you guys blew up those two songs. Without those two songs, I probably don't even get an album deal.
Wow.
So they appreciate it, and I always perform. That's probably the only place I perform those two records in the UK.
That's so cool. I feel like you still do like quite a few shows over there, right?
Quite a few. The Jazz Cafe is a big venue in London, and I've performed there at least 7 times, I guess.
Wow.
Over the years, and the last 3 shows were sold out. So
nice.
We do pretty well in London.
That's great. So then you come home from London, and what's the next move?
There was so 91 comes around, and they put together a Cold Chillin' tour where they actually got two tour buses, and the whole entire tour, it was me, the Genius, also known as Jizza from Wu-Tang. It was Kid Capri, it was Granddaddy IU, Biz was on some dates, but he wasn't on the tour bus with us, and Coogee Rap.
Dude, that is legendary. Wasn't Jizza the first one out of Wu-Tang to get a deal? I think that's what happened there. Yes,
I feel like so Rakim had a single deal, We Love You, Rakim. I don't remember if he came out before or after Genius. I want to say he was before, but it could have been after.
Yeah, I don't know. I was listening to Raekwon on Joe Rogan the other day, and I think that's what he said.
That sounds right then. Yeah. GZA, and then RZA had a single deal, but GZA had an album deal. His album was dope too.
Yeah. So that tour must have been nuts, man. That tour must have been crazy.
It wasn't nuts because because none of us had big radio records. The only big radio record on that whole tour was Granddaddy IU, Something's New.
Okay.
That had got added nationally. So that was the one record that people, because we were actually going to like weird places. We were going to we went to Louisiana, New Orleans.
Wow.
We were in Florida. Like we were in the South where we went to Ohio. Like we were in places that we were trying to break us in these places where it would have been easier to just stay on the East Coast and do Boston and Philly and DC, but their plan was to try to break into these new markets, and because Granddaddy IU had this record that was playing in a lot of places, it justified us going on this, going to these kind of markets.
Yeah.
So Coach Hill is pouring all this money into IU, and like I said, Biz is the one who brought IU out. So Biz was scheduled to be on a couple of the shows. He did one or two. He didn't do a bunch of shows though. He basically didn't even do his set. He came out on IU set and did like one or two songs.
Wow.
But he wouldn't commit to the full thing. But it was a promo tour. Nobody got paid. All we got was a per diem a day for food. Slept on the bus. There were hotels some nights, but mostly slept on the bus. We found out at the end of the tour, the very last show, we found out that the label was actually getting like 50 grand a show or some shit like that.
Whoa. Oh my God.
Like we sitting over here getting no money, getting just enough money to eat food. We conserving, not even eating 3 meals a day because we only got, $25 or whatever to eat for the whole day. So we kind of picking. So that started like the whole domino effect of dudes wanting to get out their deals and stuff like that. But it was we almost had a coup on the very last show because we all had a meeting. And we were talking about not even doing the final show. I can't remember exactly what happened, but yeah, dudes wanted to rebel.
Yeah, it sounds like a tough tour, but were there any highlights of it? Like, I mean, did you guys have any fun on the bus or anything?
Tons of fun on the bus, DJing. One of the highlights, if you want to call it a highlight, was the very first show, because that show was in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And the performance order was GZA go first, I go second. And then I can't remember who went after me. And so, or maybe Kid Capri went first and then GZA and then me. However it went, the first show, GZA had ODB as his hype man. He wasn't even known as ODB yet. He was just known as A-Song. That's Genius Man A-Song.
Yeah.
So he gets up on stage before GZA comes out and he ends up basically cursing the crowd out. got everybody mad. It was almost a riot. And
what made him do that? Why would he do that? I mean, why would he do anything? Right? Like,
I think maybe there was some drinking that was going on.
Yeah.
He got up there real belligerent.
He was pissed. He was pissed about something.
Yeah, and all I'm thinking about is, damn, GZA got to go perform after this, but then I got to go after GZA. So none of it worked out. I don't remember much about the show. It turned out okay, but he got kicked off the tour after the first show. So he wasn't on the tour bus with us when we went to the next set.
So he made it for one show.
One show.
Oh my God. That is a crazy story, man. That's wild. So then that tour, were you starting to think about getting out of the deal, or what was
that was when all of that stuff started happening, and they were cool with me leaving, but they wanted to get paid. And basically Warner Brothers made a decision on who they wanted to keep and everybody else, because Coach Hill did a bunch of signing. Like I said, they signed GZA, they signed Kid Capri, they signed this guy named Diamond Shell. They ended up signing about 7 or 8 acts after the fact. IU was on it. So they basically gave Coach Hill a list of all of the artists, and they drew a line. And they said, everybody above this line we want to keep, and everybody below this line you got to get rid of. And my name I was the first name underneath that line. So basically, it was Warner Brothers forcing their hand. So first they were saying, well, we can put your second album out through Prism. And I didn't like that idea because Prism was a singles label. I went to my manager and I said, I don't know if I want to really do this, but they put me in the studio. I recorded This was like 92. I have demos that I recorded from 92 that would have been that album, but my manager was actively talking to labels to try to see who might want to buy me out. And then it was between Rough House Records and this label in LA called Delicious Vinyl. Neither was 100%, but they were talking. And Delicious Vinyl was like, well, we got this album, this album we're doing with a bunch of rappers called Heavy Rhyme Experience with the brand new Heavies. Let's do a song on Ace for that album, and then we'll see how we feel. So I did a song called Wake Me When I'm Dead for that brand new Heavies album. And they loved it. And based on that song, and they shot a partial video for it too. So based on that song is how I got my deal with Delicious Vinyl.
Wow.
Because it got a good response.
So then what was the next move with them?
So they signed me, and I was signed to Delicious Vinyl, and I worked on my album Slaughterhouse.
What was the deal like? Was it for multiple albums, or?
It was like I want to say it was like a 4-album deal.
Gotcha.
4-album deal. And back then it probably was a 5-album deal, but we did 2 albums, and we mutually agreed that it was time to move on. And I got bought out again by a label back in New York, because I really wanted to get back to New York. So I got bought out by a label called Big Beat, which was on the Atlantic. They bought me out, and then I was on Big Beat, and I started recording for them. Now we're talking like 96 now, 97, 98. Really.
So you've been in it for almost a decade at that point.
Yeah, just about, yeah.
So what were the names of those first 2 albums you did with them?
The first album I did with Delicious was Slaughterhouse, which came out in 93, and then Sitting on Chrome, which came out in 95.
And that one was that was a big one, right? Was that like a big turning point for you?
I don't know if it was a big turning point. I got a lot more fans in other markets outside of New York. All of a sudden, I had West Coast fans, down South fans, Midwest fans that knew me for that album and songs off that album that didn't know me for anything I had done before that. So it was kind of weird, because I'm performing in places and people think that this is my first album, and meanwhile I'm 3 albums in. They didn't know about this. They didn't know about the symphony. They didn't know about none of that stuff. So it was just a new audience, and I had to adjust.
Wait, so let's bring it back to the symphony. So how'd that come together? Because I know that must have been a kind of a turning point, right? That was a big record when it came out.
Yeah, because it was my first video, first visual.
Oh, there you go. It's when the world got to see you for the first time, like on a large platform.
Exactly. So we did the Marley Control album. It was 88. And the day that we went to shoot the photo shoot for the album cover, which is, if you flip the album over, you see us standing next to a jet. There's a whole bunch of us there.
Yep. I know exactly.
And so that day, when that picture was taken, that was my first day meeting Big Daddy Kane and my first day meeting Biz Markie.
Wow.
So we met that day. So me and Craig was already cool at that point, because I met him that first day. We stayed cool. And I overheard Craig saying that he was going with Marley and Kane and G-Rap over to Marley's crib to record one more song for the album. So Marley was driving, I was driving. G-Rap and Kane rode in Marley's car. I said, Craig, I'll drive you over there. So Craig jumped in with me. So when we got to Marley's crib, I parked, because I really wanted to come up. I wanted to hear this song. My first day meeting Kane, I wanted to hear these raps, I was curious. So I went upstairs with Craig, and I'm just in there, I'm listening to the beat that they're writing to. And I'm like, well, I can't wait to hear this. I can't wait to hear what this guy Kane gonna say. Because I was very aware of Kane. I thought he was dope. And he was like that guy. Before he was that guy, he was that guy. I think at that point, Raw was probably out. So there was a lot of energy swirling around him. So
yeah,
I just wanted to be in the room. So I was just in the room. And when they finished writing their raps, they were debating about who was going to go into the booth and record first. Craig was like, let Kane go first. Kane like, let G-Rap go first. So they just passing the buck. So Marley's like, yo, Ace, you got something for this? I'm like, yo, whatever. I always got something. He's like, yo, go in there and just, lay something down, since these guys acting all scared. So, totally off the cuff, he asked me to go in the booth and rap to this beat. I don't think it was a plan or anything, but that's the reason why on the song you hear him say, I don't care who first or who last.
That's awesome.
Because that was literally happening in the session.
In real time, yeah.
In real time. So
it's crazy. And then you got to go up in front of Kane, who, probably was a little intimidating, or were you ready for this moment? Like you're ready to fucking go?
I definitely wasn't intimidated. I walked around with I walked around with 10 to 12 verses, like for any occasion.
Nice, yeah.
So while they had opportunity to write to the beat, I didn't get to write to the beat. I had to spit one of my memorized joints. So I chose I chose one of my joints to spit, and I spit it. I don't think there was any intention to keep me on the song, but I think after listening back to everything, he's like, yo, we should keep him on there. From what I learned years later, when he sent me in the booth to go in there rhyme first, G-Rap and Kane had a sidebar, and they didn't like the fact that he was putting this new guy on this song that they had, because it was supposed to originally be a duet.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a G-Rap and Kane duet, period. Craig kind of finagled his way into it, and now he's throwing this new guy on there. And
so they're a little tight about it.
They were tight. They were pissed. So they made a plan. They were like, yo, let's just say we go into the pizza shop and don't come back. And so luckily, before they went through with their plan, they heard my first take. And then they were like, yo, Glass is kind of dope, yo. I'm not mad at him. So at some point they must have told Marley, yo, yeah, he can stay on the song. He all right. I like him.
That's amazing.
That's how I ended up on the song.
That is so cool, man. What a story. And it's like, they say luck is preparation meeting opportunity. You were prepped, you got that shot, and you killed it.
Yeah. I mean, I picked the verse that I guess was the right verse. Trust me, after I heard G-Rap and Kane's verses, I was thinking about other verses that I should have said instead of that one.
Yeah.
It worked how it worked.
Yeah. So sitting on Chrome, let's fast forward back to that. Sorry, I'm all over the place a little bit, but that one drops. And then what's the next one after that?
The next album?
Yeah.
The next album doesn't come out until 2001. So 95 and then 2001. There was a long hiatus there.
So what happened there?
Well, I became a little disenchanted with the industry.
Yeah.
Remember I told you that I got bought out by Big Beat. So for the next 2-3 years, I was working on an album for Big Beat. This was like 96, 97. I was working on this album for Big Beat. Big Beat decided to basically shelve my album. So
what was their reasoning? What was the bullshit reason they gave you?
It wasn't enough radio friendly for them. At that point, you got to understand, late 90s, Bad Boy had kind of taken over the airways and all of this R&B, laden hip hop. Everything had a singing hook or some kind of R&B singer on it. And that was kind of the sound, the movement. And I was doing my best to try to give them what they wanted, but still stay true to who I was.
Yeah.
And so there was a few records I tried to kind of give them what they were asking for, but I just wasn't feeling the R&B stuff. So I had a meeting with them. They recommended me getting like Brian McKnight or Changing Faces and somebody like that to sing on a few joints. And I went back to the lab and I reworked some songs, but I just couldn't do the singing stuff. So I came back to them with some new songs. They were just like, nah, this ain't it, man. We're gonna go another direction. And they let me, and they basically dropped me and shelved my album.
Jesus.
So at that point, I was pretty pissed. I started focusing my attention on other artists that I was working with. I was working with Shay at the time, Paula Perry at the time. So I started putting my energy into those artists, and I decided to just be an executive producer. I'm going to step behind the scenes. So
yeah,
I actually put together my first resume. My mother had been asking me where's my resume. So now I just started to put a resume together and start going around the different labels trying to get a job. I actually started shopping beats because I had produced a couple of those big radio records of mine, Sitting on Chrome, Born to Roll, INC Ride. I produced all of those. So I decided to start shopping my production skills around the industry and just trying to see if I could get in on the inside as opposed to being an artist.
Yeah, where the real money seems to be, right? I feel like that's what you were starting to realize.
Yeah. So from about 96 until 98, 9, I was just kind of like waffling, trying to figure out where I was going.
Wow.
Trying to focus on these artists that I had out, and none of that stuff really worked out completely great. So
how'd you find your way back to the mic?
I went to Philly. I went to Jazzy Jeff Studio out of Philly. They were working on a new album for Will Smith, and they were looking for writers. So I went out there and started working with a couple of their producers, but I really loved creative energy that they had going on. They had like 3 different rooms, and there were producers in each room, and everybody's just making music, just making beats and music, and stuff was sounding incredible. and I just got my energy back. And I was like, oh man, I'm feeling this. Like, let's do a couple. So I wrote a couple of joints for Will Smith. He didn't pick them, but they got me like back into the groove of rhyming and just writing dope stuff and rhyming. And then I did a couple of singles. I did a single for Duck Down. Me and Buckshot did a single for Duck Down. I did another single for J Love. And these are all just like one-off single joints, 12 inches that we were throwing out. But all of those little one-offs and all of that stuff kind of got me back to the point of feeling like, yo, I think I might still have a little something. And then in 2000, I got asked to come to Europe, London, and the UK for a tour, 13-city tour in the UK. And so this is like all of those years later. I go back out there, not really expecting much, and wind up going to these different cities in the UK and having the clubs be packed and people knowing the words of songs and giving me the energy. And so once again, the UK brought me back again. And based on the responses from the crowd at those shows, I came back to New York and I was like, yo, I'm gonna do one more record. Even though I feel like this kind of, I'm at the tail end, at least I want to kind of like go out on my own terms.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do one more record. And so I wound up doing the Disposable Arts album.
And that blew up.
That turned what would have been 4-album career.
Yeah.
Into a 30-year career, because
wow,
I got an extra 20 years of touring and music making off of that one album. That's why to this day I will always tell people it's my favorite album of mine.
One more time for the fans. What's the name of it?
Disposable Arts.
Love that album, man. I was bumping that on the way home. I was going to ask you, do you still have no regrets?
I still have no regrets. I mean, there's a couple of things I would have done differently, but I wouldn't call them regrets.
Yeah, I love that album, bro. I texted you the other night about how I was listening to Ether and then Acknowledge right after it. And man, Acknowledge just goes so hard, bro. Between like the beat, who produced that beat? That shit is insane.
This producer, it goes by the name of Explicit.
Is he still doing it? Or was it, what's he doing?
I don't think so. Nah.
That's all he had to do. It's like,
yeah.
This shit is one of the best diss records of all time. Can we hear the story behind that one? I feel like I've seen a lot of like stuff about it. I feel like I've seen the video where you were battling that dude. I don't even know if you want to drop his name. I don't. Whatever. I do want to hear the story though. I've always wanted to ask you about it.
It came about for a couple of different reasons. Like when I was working on Disposable, there was I had a few rappers that was on my hit list. Dudes that said little slick stuff.
Oh yeah, like who else? Who else? Anybody that we know?
It was a dude. What was this dude's name?
Doesn't even matter.
I'm trying. Yeah, he said my name in a freestyle out in LA, just on some random stuff, but it wasn't a complimentary line.
Yeah, so there were certain people taking shots at you, like here and there.
Yeah, it was just like shots here, shots there, and then I hear about High and Mighty performing at this event in New York, and it actually wasn't even them who said the line. They had brought out this other rapper named Cage, and Cage got on stage and was rapping with them, and apparently the mics were really bad, and he was cuffing the mic, and he had a rhyme where he says my name, and people, all they heard was my name. They didn't really hear the line.
Yeah.
And so I had a couple of partners, the guys that I was working on the Disposable Arts album with, Filthy Rich and DJ Rob were in the crowd, and they's like, yo, what did he just say? Yo. So they came back to the studio the next day like, yo, we was at that show with High and Mighty, and one of them said some crazy stuff about you. I don't know exactly what he said, but it sounded like he said, fuck Masta Ace. And I'm like, what? I said, oh, really? Shit. Like, wow. So it's just open season, huh? And the boogeyman guy made a whole song about me, because he had a song called Ghetto Love, and I did a song called Ghetto Like, which is another one of those. It's actually the A side to the song with me and Buckshot. Me and Buckshot had, so one of those one-off records that I said I was doing to get back into the groove.
Yep.
So Ghetto Like was one of those joints. So he decided, come to find out, he was from Brownsville. I didn't know any of this. So he thought that I was like trying to basically steal his idea.
Uh-huh.
So he made a whole song called Just You Wait. It was just like dedicated to me.
Oh, shit.
So I got this guy over here, whose name I can't remember. What was his name? I can't think of his name right now. It's escaping me. It's not important anyway, but
All right, fuck them.
I got this guy saying slick stuff in a freestyle. I got High and Mighty dissing me on stage at a big event. I got this dude making a song about me. And it was maybe a couple of people. I just had like a little hit list. And so as I started writing the verses, I had everybody in there at first. And then I decided to just focus on the two most. Because I knew High and Mighty had fans. So I decided to focus on them, and I focused on the guy who did the song about me. And I left everybody else. I let everybody else slide, and I just focused on the two of them.
Just made an example out of them.
And the rest is pretty much history. The song came out, and it took over. It caught a lot of people off guard, I think. And
Every bar in that song is just every single line, man. I mean, that guy must have been totally cooked after that. Like, what do you do after someone releases that song at you? Like, his career must have been over. He disappeared, didn't he?
He literally disappeared. But I mean, I was just frustrated. I was just, because I don't mess with nobody. I mind my business.
Right, yeah.
And people just taking shots because they figured I was finished. I'm done. I'm over. I ain't rapping no more.
It's so funny because I just took a little hiatus from fishing, and there's so many cats that have been taking shots. I just took the one guy's voice. I put him on the intro. He's about to be famous. Just didn't realize it.
Wow.
Yeah. There's some crazy similarities, at least between the New York City fishing scene and hip hop. It's very competitive.
I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah, it is.
It was just a leisurely thing to do, like skiing.
I know. Apparently not in New York City. It's like a gangs of New York type of thing, and it's like crabs in a barrel. Like nobody wants to see anybody else really make it out or like do anything cool. Everybody, I can't even explain it. I talk to fishermen all over the planet, and they're like, "Dude, what are you talking about? Like, what?
That's weird."
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, I know. I was just thinking about how when I took sway fishing, we went out to dinner after, and I was telling him about it, and he said like the same thing as you. He's like, "Isn't this supposed to be like a peaceful, like everybody get along sport?" I'm like, "Yeah, but
right.
New York City's a little different." By the way, Sway says hi. I texted him before I told him I was interviewing you.
That's my guy. Word up.
Yeah. So Disposable Arts, there's so many good songs on that, but the one it's a classic rap album, but the one I really wanted to ask you about was A Long Hot Summer, because when I think I was like 19, me and my buddy Ian were making beats, and we moved to Florida, and we're living in this apartment with basically just our mattresses, and we used to call it the white walls because we had nothing else but the mattresses. But I found that album somehow, and bro, I must have bumped that album on repeat for like a full year. Like that, just the way it tells like this amazing story, like the concept of it it's just incredible. I mean, I have so many questions about it. One, who's the narrator? Who's Fats? Is that Benny from The Sopranos? I feel like it is. It's always what I thought it was. No?
He's a producer, and that's his real name, Fats Belvedere.
That's really him.
Yep, and
That's amazing.
He actually had a studio in the same suite where our studio was. He was like in a small room in the same suite as us. So I would hear him talk all the time. I was like, "Yo, man, I gotta put you on a skit, yo. You got the illest voice." And he's like, "Yeah, man, whatever." So he came in and became famous for the skit.
That's so funny, bro. I mean, I feel like I was watching a lot of Sopranos at the time, and I'm like, man, Benny's voice sounds just like Fats. I could have sworn you like hired this guy from Sopranos, do these skits. That's so crazy. You still talk to this guy? Where is Fats now?
Yeah, he's around.
He sounds like another New York guy. Where was he from?
Straight Brooklyn.
Straight Brooklyn. That's awesome.
Italian from Brooklyn.
Is his real name Fats Domino?
You know what? No, not Domino. Belvedere.
Belvedere. My bad.
Yeah, that was just his producer name. I don't know what his real government name is. I only know him by his nickname.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know why that was like.
He was really down with those guys though.
Yeah.
He was mobbed up. He did time and the feds and all that stuff.
Oh shit, that's amazing. That makes me like the album even more. That he was like totally authentic. I'm over here thinking like everything is like Hollywood, and you just like hired some like voiceover actor or something. But that's as real as it gets. I should have known that.
As real as it gets. He when he got out of jail the last time, he was actually working at at a what do you call it? Where they demolish the cars?
Oh, like
A salvage yard.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where they get rid of the body.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, salvage yard, sure, Fats, just crushing cars. That's like how they got rid of Jimmy Hoffa. I think they like crushed him in a car and turned him into a block or something. That's the theory I believe on that. Anyway, so how did you come up with the concept to that album? Like, what was the inspiration for that? What was the writing process like? How long did it take to write it? I got all these questions.
So I don't know if you knew or not, but that album is directly connected to Disposable Arts.
I did not know that.
Okay, so at the beginning of Disposable Art, the first skit, in a song called Too Long. At the beginning of the song called Too Long, it's my character coming out of jail. I'm walking with the Irish officer, and he's talking about, he always come back.
Yeah.
He always back. They always come back.
Right, I remember. Yeah.
Right. So, like I told you, that's my favorite album of mine, and that was a very important album. And the label that I was signed to, the distributor, I should say, they went out of business like 1 month after the album came out.
Oh my God.
So whatever copies got shipped were the ones that were out there. The album was huge all over Europe, but you couldn't really even get it. Like whatever shipped sold, and nobody could get it anymore. And so I just felt like it was unfair to that album. So that was supposed to be my last album of my career. But I was like, I can't go out like that. I have to do one more album so it can be seen in the right way. But if I'm going to do one more album, I have to do an album that's going to get people to know about Disposable Art. So I decided to do an album that was a prequel to Disposable Arts. So Long Hot Summer is basically the summer before. It shows you why my character ended up getting locked up.
Yeah.
So it's a lead up to my character getting locked up. And then, like I said, Disposable Arts comes out of jail. I'm coming out of jail. So it basically was a way for me to get fans to go, oh, wait, there's another album connected to this, and make people go back and find Disposable.
That's genius.
So that's why that happened like that.
You're like, I have to make an album to make them recognize the last album, like understand how dope it was, pretty much. And in doing that,
because I knew I was going to do interviews and press, so it was going to be an opportunity for me to do interviews. They were going to ask me about the story, and I'm saying, oh yeah, it's basically just the summer before my character gets locked up. And if you want to know what happens to my character after he comes out of jail, you got to get Disposable Arts.
That's so cool.
So those albums are forever connected.
Yeah, oh my God, bro. I feel like you've had a few, so far in the story, it's like there have been a few moments where you're like, all right, I'm going to do this one last thing. And then you find like a reason to go do another dope thing. And then you're like, I'm going to kind of fall back. And then you come back again. That's how it's been happening, because it's kind of, if I'm inspired, then I'm going to do it. There's some of my contemporaries, they're just doing albums because that's what they do, and they kind of got to do an album. But when you listen to it, it sounds like that. It sounds like they're just throwing songs together. And if I'm not inspired to write raps or to write songs, it's not going to be good. So what was, so for a Long Hot Summer, how long do you think that took you to write? Like how long does that, like how long, how long does that take to write? The process was probably about 8 months. 8 months. Writing and creating the song. And where are you writing? Are you writing in the studio? Or are you writing on the train? Like what's like the environment like that you're writing in? I'm writing in the gym. I'm writing while washing dishes. I'm writing while driving. The only place I don't really write is in the studio. Gotcha. Why is that? Because I don't feel creative. I don't like that pressure of the beat playing and I got to come up with rhymes. Like, because I'm not going to be at my best. I write best when I'm not thinking about when I'm not trying to write. That's when I write the best stuff. Interesting. Cool. So I try to do something to keep me busy. Like I said, washing dishes, cleaning the house with the beat playing in the background, or jogging. I was jogging around that time, doing running. I would jog and play the beat. The best songs that I've written come from doing something that has nothing to do with trying to write a rap. That's amazing. That's so cool. Oh man, all these questions I have here, bro. Who do you think has the craziest fans? Just to go sideways for a sec off the story. Craziest fans? Maybe R-Rated Rugged Man? No, I mean like the city-wise across the planet. R-Rated Rugged Man, yeah, I bet he does. So as far as like cities, enthusiasm and all of that, it's probably a tie between Germany, Poland, and
let's see, Germany, Poland, and what's in a couple cities in Germany, but yeah, I'm gonna say I'm probably forgetting one, but I'm gonna say Germany and Poland. They're like neck and neck.
They go nuts over there.
Yeah, nuts. Scary. It's scary.
What were you gonna say about RA's fans? Have you seen them do some wild shit or something?
No, just in general, like they're just like
a little crazy.
They just seem nuts. If you ever seen his show, and they're into it.
It's like school shooter vibes, kind of.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, so A Long Hot Summer comes out. You go on tour for that? What did you do? Like a nationwide tour?
Yeah.
Did you do worldwide? What was that like?
Worldwide tour. We went to Europe. Ed OG toured with us. He went as the opener act. We did that tour in 2004, and we touched probably 27 cities in like 33 days or something like that. It was pretty grueling.
All on the bus? Or like planes too?
In the van. No planes. All in a van.
All van? How many people in the van?
There was, if you included the driver, there was 9 of us.
Wow. So it must have been like a lot of hotel rooms then.
Yeah, all hotel.
A lot of driving too. And are you writing while you're driving? Are you guys like cracking jokes? Like, are you just sleeping?
I mean, cracking jokes for sure. I know Edo liked to play chess. So dudes was playing chess in the van and just playing music. Sleeping. Just trying to make it to the next city.
Yeah. So at this point, are you kind of like getting used to the tour life and everything that comes with it?
Yeah. By 2004, I was definitely used to it. I understood what it was. We were doing some crazy drives back then. Like now, I'm a little older. I try to keep the drives like to 6 hours being on the high end, nothing more than 6 hours. But back in those days, we did a drive from, I don't know where we started, but we had to go to Poland, and that was a 10-hour drive.
Wow.
And we were definitely roughing it back then. But there were a lot of drives that were 7.5, 8, 9, a lot of those kind of drives.
Yeah, it's a long drive. I did basically Fort Lauderdale to Brooklyn in one shot last winter, 17 hours by myself. Stayed up.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that was wild.
You stayed up?
Yeah, I did it in one shot.
Were you drinking like Red Bulls and shit? Like what?
I was just going through some shit with my son's mother, and I was just fucking like, there's no way I was going to sleep anyway. So I just kept driving. And just sometimes the road can be like kind of soothing, not to sound like weird or anything, but like sometimes you sit with the road and it's like you like talk to the road almost, and it almost talks to you in a way, even though nothing's said, but sometimes you do find some answers out there, I feel like.
Yeah.
But
my problem with the road being soothing is it soothes me to sleep.
Yeah, I was definitely hallucinating a little bit towards the end there with the road. I
know you had
to. I showed up at my mom's door at like 4 a.m. and I was just, I was going through some shit, and I just ended up like back in my mom's apartment in Jersey, and it was a rough year, bro. But we're bouncing back. We're bouncing back, dude. It's all good.
That's right.
They can't take us out, It's like I'm relating to you even more now, like hearing about how like you really did almost just say fuck it and just like do something else, because that's kind of how I felt with this whole fishing thing for the past year. I'm like, I did my thing. I did 10 years with this. We did some cool stuff. Like maybe I'll just disappear and not do anything dope anymore, but I can't. It's like I feel the same way. It's always got to be one last thing. Got to get one last licks in, that's it, and it never ends with that process. Yeah. So another thing I was reading about was how Eminem acknowledged the fact that you were a major influence in his career. I wanted to ask you about that a little bit, and also I want to ask you, like, when you saw him coming up, were you kind of like, damn, this dude like is like biting my style a little bit?
Nah,
on the flow.
I don't even agree with those comparisons for the most part, honestly.
Gotcha.
Because we talk, the stuff that he was saying early in his career, like I wasn't talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
he was on some whole other stuff, like, and cadences. We all borrow and cadences and flows and all that stuff like that. So, I was listening to. If you hear some of my early demos, I was kind of sounding like Rakim a little bit. So
yeah.
We all borrow and kind of trying to shape how we're going to sound. We all go through those phases. So
Yeah, but he said it a few times that, you know, you're like a big influence. I mean,
to be specific, right? When my album Slaughterhouse came out in '93, and this is me talking to him and D12, those guys, Proof, rest in peace. Like, they was like, yo, when that album came out, we were all broke, driving around in a beat up car. They said what kind of car it was, I don't remember. Driving around Detroit in a beat up car, and that's the album that we just played that nonstop.
Wow.
And it popped, and we bought another one. Like, we would just drive around. That whole year, we drove around Detroit playing Slaughterhouse album.
That's amazing.
So that's what that's what he says. That's what he means when he says, you know, one of his influence. But there were other albums. There were other. He cites several rappers that he got influence from. Tretch, Redman. It's a few people.
Yeah. So I mean, I mean, how'd that make you feel at the time? Were you kind of like, this is cool, or you just like, yeah, like we all kind of like what you're saying right now? Or were you hyped about it? Or I'm reading that the 2003, like he shouted you out at the Grammys. Like you must have been pretty hyped about that at the time, right?
I was much less hyped than my friends were, because my phone ringing off the hook after everybody. He named like 10 rappers, and he said my name, and my phone starts ringing. Yo, like people thought. I don't know what people thought. They thought I was gonna suddenly get like a big bag of money or something. I don't know what people. It was definitely cool to be mentioned in the breath of some of those other people that he said.
Yeah,
and so it was definitely dope. But people were like going crazy about it. Like they were ODing with it.
That's wild. That's wild. So have you met him before? Like what's up with that?
Yes, we've met on a few occasions, and we've had phone conversations and text conversations and all that good stuff.
That's cool. That's really cool. How about your relationship with MF Doom?
So it's really so okay. So I knew MF Doom before he was MF Doom. I met him when he was in KMD. I was seeing him and his crew at parties around New York City in the early '90s. They were a cool group or whatever. When he reinvented himself and became MF Doom, at first I didn't even know that that's who that was. Somebody had to explain to me, yo, that's Jeff Love X from. I was like, really? Then I'm like I'm trying to remember how he looked. I go back to the Peach Fuzz video. I'm seeing how he looked in that, but I'm like, okay, but he wearing a mask now, so can't even see his face. But I met him again years later at the Montreux Jazz Festival. He's a very mysterious person who. It's hard to get him nailed down so he can, but like the Montreux Jazz Festival, we were both booked on the same stage. They booked me and him because Mos Def, who was originally booked, Yassine Bey, he canceled. So they needed somebody to fill that spot. So they filled it with MF Doom and me. So around that time, I was working on, I'd already recorded a bunch of songs for my M.A. Doom Son of Yvonne album. And I'd already put it out on the internet that I was working on this. I was calling it a mixtape, this mixtape over MF Doom beats. So when I saw him at the Jazz Festival, he already knew about it. And I was like, well, after the show, I want to play it for you. He was like, all right, cool. Come to my hotel room. So me, Marco Polo, we met with him and his cousin Ben at his hotel room. And I sat there and I played him the whole entire album. Oh, the album up to what was recorded. And he was like, yo, it's dope. This is dope. Yo, it's crazy. Like he was just enjoying the fact that I was rhyming to these beats and he liked the rhymes, all that. So I was like, yo, it'd be kind of dope if you could jump on a song. He's like, all right, I got you. And he agreed to rap on a song. And he eventually delivered the verse. The Montreux Jazz Festival, I want to say, was in August of that year of 2011. And he promised me he would do a verse for me. I didn't get the verse until February of 2012. It took that long, but he gave me a verse, and it was a well thought out. It wasn't some throwaway verse. It was about what I was rapping about, everything. Like he knocked it out the park. So I was just glad, rest in peace. I was glad that he was gracious enough to lace me with a verse. It took a long time to get it, and we were really close to just putting that out without it. But he came through in the final album.
And what's the name of that one?
Oh, it's called Think I Am. It's off for the Son of Yvonne album.
Man, that's so crazy. It took him a whole year, but it came through fire.
Well, not a whole year, but from August to February, that's a long time.
Oh, I thought you said it was from August 1 year to. Yeah, no, that's pretty.
No.
Yeah, I got you. Sorry, dude. It's been a long day. I taught all day, and then I coached lacrosse practice for 2 hours after that. So I'm grinding over here, man. But I got to talk to you about. I'm always texting you about that song, like randomly. The you and Guru on Conflict, the Paul Nice remix. I fucking love that track, bro. What is up with that one? I'm asking for personal reasons. People are probably like, "What is he talking about?" But that beat, bro.
Paul Nice.
Oh, okay. I didn't know much about him. I was going to ask you about him. That's like, I think maybe the only thing I've ever heard from him. That's the only thing I knew of his. So
Paul was a great producer, man. He did the song "Don't Understand" for me off the Disposable.
Oh, really? Okay, I love that song, man.
Yeah, and he did a couple of joints. They're more like underground joints, but he has talent. He had talent, man. He was talented. He got that Guru joint. We did it at D&D, and Guru came down and laid his verse. I laid my verse, and then we went back and did. I just remember where we were at. I remember seeing him that night, and that was my first time. I had been friends with him for years. That was my first time collaborating on a song together.
Did you ever collab with him again?
Never did. Never collabed again.
I always ask. Yeah, sorry.
That's not true. No, that's not true.
I wish I had like a co-host like Rogan. I could just have him bring it up right now. You should see my little studio right now. It's so bootleg, but I'm gonna blow this shit up, dude. That's the plan. That's the plan right now. You're the first person that I've interviewed in like 67 episodes that hasn't been a fisherman. I just started thinking the other day.
It's called Lights Out.
Lights Out.
Called Lights Out.
Nice.
So I produced the original version of that for Guru. He never did nothing with it, and I totally forgot about it.
Wow. You never did anything with it?
Not until this gangster.
That's it.
Album.
Yeah. How many tracks is that new Gangster album? I gotta listen to it. I didn't even know there was a new Gangster album out. I feel like I listen to I've been listening to the same playlist for like years. Sometimes it's tough for me to listen to new stuff. I don't know. I'm just stuck in my ways, I guess. I don't know.
No, it's cool, man. Like, listen, you can't. It's so much music out there and so much stuff to stumble across. You're not going to get you're going to miss some stuff. There's so much stuff out there.
Right. Speaking of that, what do you think about like the state of hip hop right now?
It's okay. There's some good things out there. I like the new Redman album. I like what he did. There's people out there still doing good stuff.
What do you think of the last Kanye album?
I stopped listening to Kanye quite a few years ago when all that when he decided to put his hat in the political ring and
run for president. Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't bother me as much, but when he put on the red Make America Great hat, I was like, I'm done with this guy.
That's it.
Yeah. That's just my opinion. So,
yeah.
But I went from being a huge fan to like literally the next 3 albums that he put out, I didn't even listen to him.
He just totally alienated you, along with a lot of other people. I think. Yeah.
We got to the point where if I heard the joint came on the radio, I would change things. Like, I'm not as mad anymore, but I'm still kind of like, yeah.
So,
but he had, yeah.
No, what were you gonna say?
No, I'm just saying he has a lot of issues and things that he's dealing with. So once I got to understand that, as like after his mom died, a lot of things went downhill for him.
Yeah, losing a parent is really tough. I lost my dad in 2020. He was my best friend, and it's been I still reach for the phone to call him sometimes. Like reach in my pocket, and I'm like, oh shit. It doesn't happen as often because it's been like been a minute, but man, that first like year.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you keep the phone numbers of your loved ones in your phone?
Oh yeah, I have all his voicemails saved. They take up like most of my voicemail space. Oh,
that's dope that you have his voice. But I still have like my mom's phone number.
Oh yeah, I still have it.
A lot of people that I've lost over the like say last decade, the 15 years. Like I still have those people's numbers in my phone, numbers, email, as a contact. They're just in my phone.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, there were a few nights there in the first year or so after I lost my dad where I was just like really drinking, And there were a couple nights where I would just text the fucking number and be like, somebody probably got some weird ass text that got the new number. But the grieving process is a tough one, man. So let's you want to talk about your mom a little bit? I know she's a major influence on your life. Let's I feel like
Major influence.
we should definitely have some time for her right now.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, what do you want to know?
What was it like growing up with her? Like, what was, besides the list that she gave you to do? I mean, what were some of the other things that she like instilled in you? It seems like she instilled the love of music, structure. Like what were some of the other
education
things?
Education was
Yep.
very much emphasized the importance of education, and that I wasn't going to be an average student. She didn't want me to just be average. She wanted me to be better than average. So it was always emphasis put on books and school and trying to do something productive.
Yeah.
Be a productive member of society. So.
And what did she do for work when you were growing up?
So when I was growing up, she had a bunch of different jobs, which I didn't fully understand exactly what she did. But the most recent job that she had before she passed, she worked for the U.S. Postal Service as a consultant. Like she wrote like software and stuff like that for the U.S. Postal Service.
Oh, okay.
And she was there for many years, and she would get new contracts and all of that. But she got paid a decent salary to be a consultant for the federal government, basically.
That's awesome. So it was just you and her growing up, or who else was?
Just me. I was the only child.
Okay.
But there was a time period in my youth where my grandmother was raising me because my mother was trying to find us a better place to live. So the first place when I went to fourth grade, she moved us to Boston. So fourth grade and fifth grade, I was living in Boston, and she was trying to hopefully get this new, job out there. She worked at Harvard, on the campus of Harvard for a year, and then she had this other job, which I wasn't sure exactly what she was doing, but ultimately Boston didn't work out. So we went back to Brooklyn, back to the projects, to my grandmother's house. And then I did sixth grade back in Brooklyn, back in the same elementary school I was in for the first 3 years, first through third. I went back to that same elementary school, which is right inside my projects. My mother moved to Atlanta during that year. She was saying that she was going to get this job, and if the job works out, we're going to be moving to Atlanta. So I did sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade in Brooklyn while my mom was living in Atlanta. She would come back to New York and stuff, but my grandmother was kind of like the primary guardian during those years. And so I was a latchkey kid. I had my house key was on a string around my neck. And, my uncles, they worked, my grandmother worked. So I would come home from school, seventh grade, eighth grade, let myself in, make myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or whatever. Yeah. Do my homework, watch some cartoons, and then maybe go out to my boy Rodney's crib and do some DJing stuff. So at the end of eighth grade, she told me that basically like this job was about to happen and we were going to be moving to Atlanta. So I had applied to a bunch of schools, and one of the schools I applied to was a school called Brooklyn Tech. And Brooklyn Tech was one of those like specialty schools where you had to take a test to get in. I took the test and I got a good score, but my score was maybe like 5 to 10 points off of what I needed to get into the school. My math was a little bit low. So they said, go to summer school. If you complete the summer school, you'll get into tech. So in the process of me going to summer school after eighth grade, my mother tells me we're moving to Atlanta. So once she said that, I basically stopped going to summer school. I was like skipping out. I would miss days. I wasn't taking the tests. I ended up failing summer school, and she ended up not getting the job in Atlanta. So now I got to find a school, because the zone school where I live in Brownsville is a school called Thomas Jefferson, which was basically like jail. So she's like, you ain't going to Jeff. So I had filled out this form with a bunch of other schools that I potentially would go to if I didn't get into tech. And one of the schools was a school called Sheepshead Bay High School. I picked all the schools that had football teams because I was determined that I was playing high school football. So I basically picked all the schools that I knew had football teams, and Sheepshead Bay was one of them. And I got into that school, and that's where I ended up going.
You ever go fishing out of Sheepshead Bay?
Never did.
That's where we do a lot of it.
Okay.
What's his name? You know who was going down there and fishing a lot before he passed away? Sean Price, R.I.P. Big fan of Sean Price. Yeah, he was.
Really? I didn't know he was a fisher.
Yeah, he was going out there with what's his name? Sadat X. they were going out. I was seeing their Instagram back in the day. I remember.
I just recently heard a story that Marco Polo told, and now it makes sense. He had Sean Price come to his house to record some vocals or something. So Sean gets to his house, and he's got fish in a plastic thing, and he's like, "Yo, put this in your freezer for me." And Marco took these giant fish and put them in the freezer while he recorded his vocals. And he said he finished his vocals, he grabbed his fish and took off.
That's amazing. That is such a cool story. Now it all makes sense. It's all coming together. Yeah. He probably came right from Sheepshead Bay to the booth.
Yep.
That is wild. Bro, it's one of the coolest stories. Oh my God. Yeah. I remember because I started Brooklyn Fishing Club around 2013. And I guess that's around when Instagram was coming out, and I was following people in the hip hop industry, and I was like, man, I would love to take Sean fishing one day and just fish with him out of one of those boats. I mean, those boats have such characters on them, man. I mean,
yeah, I'm sure
you should get out there one time and in the summer. I'll tell you exactly what boat to go on. It's not too intense. You just drop the line down, catch some fish. They have a galley on the boat. They cook. It's really a lot of fun. It's a good day.
The last time I went fishing was in LA.
In LA?
Yeah, I went fishing with Exhibit and his son.
Wow. Did you guys catch anything?
Yeah. Well, I had video and photos of that day because I hadn't been in that environment. I never been on like a fishing boat like that. It basically like you pay to be on that boat, and everybody's out there just fishing like crazy.
Yeah, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, and the fish. I didn't catch anything. Exhibit caught a couple of things, and when I see these guys catching the fish and bring them in, and then they would stomp their heads to stop them from jumping around. I'm like, oh my God, this is brutal.
Yeah, it gets a little violent for sure.
Golly, yeah.
But
you stomp them out.
You see where that fish comes from, though. It doesn't just end up in the supermarket on ice. That thing gets killed. But dude, I would love to see those pictures if you could find those.
I don't know. They're either on my laptop or I moved into my hard drive, but I have them. I have photos. I have photos and video of that day. I took a bunch of pictures too.
What year was that? You think around?
Maybe. Okay, so it was actually around when me and Edo were out there together. So I'm gonna say 2011, something like that, like 2011, 2012, somewhere. No, not 2012, 2010 or 2011. I want to say 2011.
I wonder if he's still into fishing. I wonder if he's still doing it. I feel like once you get into it, you kind of sticks with you a little bit.
I think it was his thing because he's the one who was like, "Yo, I'm going fishing with my son. You want to go?" And he looked like he had done it before. Put it like that.
That's so cool. That's so cool, man. Do you know any other guys in the game that like to fish?
No,
I'm sure it's not a topic that comes up very often out there. But
right.
One thing I wanted to ask you about too, when I was making beats and whatnot, I would always try to be handing out demos all the time. Do you get handed a lot of demos, and do you listen to them?
Used to. I don't really get handed a lot of stuff anymore.
All right. Well, when you did, like, would you take the time to listen, or would
that's how I met Marco Polo.
Oh, really? Yeah, tell that story. Let's hear that. How'd that happen?
I was at a studio called the Cutting Room. I was working on my album Aloha Summer. I was actually there to meet the Beatnuts to record their song for Aloha Summer, and we were waiting on Juju. I think Les came, but we were waiting on Juju, and I think Les did his verse that day, but Juju never showed up. So on my way out, the skinny little white kid comes up to me like, "Yo, man, I do beats. Can I give you a CD?" I'm like, "Yeah." He gave it to me. I listened to it on the ride home. I ended up emailing him like, I kind of like, some things on here. Send me some more joints. I could hear the talent, the drum, because with me, everything is, do you know how to program drums? Because that's what it really comes down to. Because a lot of guys have beat CDs and the samples be dope. And I'll be waiting for the drums to come in, and drums come in, they're terrible. I'm like, see, this whole thing, this could have been nice, but he ruined it with these terrible drums. But Marco had a knack for drum patterns, and I liked his drum choices. So he sent me more joints, and he ended up actually I picked the joint "Do It Man" off of that second CD that he gave me, "Do It Man," which is a joint featuring Noid, and off that same CD was "Nostalgia," the joint I did for him.
I love that song. Yeah, when you guys dropped that song, bro, I think it was in the summertime, if I'm not mistaken. I think I bumped that like that was on every mix when that came out for like months for me, dude.
By the
Sick.
time we shot the,
It was a dope video too.
by the time we dropped the video, it was getting colder because I can tell by how I was dressed. It wasn't like cold, but it was like on its way to being like, it could have been like fall.
Yeah, it's a great song. You guys need to check that out. What album is that off of again?
Nostalgia is off on Port Authority. That's his Marco Polo's first producer album.
Yeah.
Port Authority. He got a bunch of dope songs on that album.
So how long have you guys just been touring together since? When did he become like your DJ and whatnot?
We started touring with him DJing for me right around the time me and Edo were working on our album, which would have been 2010. There was a couple of cities that our regular DJ who had federal charges on his record. He couldn't go to Australia, so we needed somebody to go to Australia with us. So Marco was like, yo, I'll go. So that was like one of the first times I brought him as my DJ. But after that time, like he would always fill in, and then sometimes he would just come. I brought him on tour with me, with him and Torre came in Europe with me like back in 06 or 07 when I had the album with EMC out. So I already knew Marco from the Long Hot Summer album. We were already cool. But he was on the skits he did a couple of skits for me him and Torre did a couple of skits for the EMC album, The Show. That's when we started to get like really cool.
Yeah, I met you guys in 2010 at that, what I think it was called like Brooklyn Day or something. They used to do that every summer. I don't know if they're still doing it or not.
Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival.
Yeah, Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival. Yeah, that was those were some good summers there. They had some real good acts. Yep, that was fun, man. That was fucking awesome. Seems like yesterday, man. Shit goes by so quickly. Yeah. So what's next for you now? What's the next move after all this? After how many albums? Like, was it like 14 albums you've done? How many?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So the next step for me, I'm gonna do my album with Marco because we decided to just make it a trilogy. So we have our third album coming next year. I wrote a musical which I've been actively shopping for funding for it. And I have a TV show on my laptop that I've been slowly developing and writing as well. So these are all kind of the next phase of things that I'm looking to go into.
So you think just one more album and that's it?
That's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like one more with Marco, and then I want to transition into these other writing projects.
Yeah, like different writing platforms, not just writing rhymes.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of unreleased tracks that you have on deck that you could like put out like a whole like B-side album?
Oh, no, not unreleased. I have a lot of joints that I featured on people's stuff that people never heard. But
okay.
Like I call them hits you miss, like joints I did with other people that most people haven't heard. I've done like 6 volumes of those hits you miss. I have 6 volumes of CDs, but I stopped doing them. But I literally could do like another 6 volumes just based on the songs that I've featured on over the years.
So do you think on this next album, like, are you going to bring anybody on it? Like any collabs? What are you thinking? More
than likely, but I never predetermined collaborations. I always got to stop Marco because he be saying, yo, we should do such and such on this album. I'm like, yo, you can't predetermine a feature. The person has to fit the song.
Right.
So let's not talk about a feature until we have a song that we can listen to and go, okay, who would sound dope on this? That's how I like to do my features, not just let's get this person because they're a name and then we'll figure out what song to do around them.
Interesting. Like very interesting. I feel like a lot of people don't do that. They just want to grab the name.
That's it. That's not the way to go.
It's crazy. Do you still have a manager? Have you had the same manager for the whole career? What's that been like?
I haven't had a manager in probably 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I handle all my stuff myself. Promoters contact me directly. I have a booking agent in Europe that obviously communicates with the promoters in Europe. But other than that, like in the US, it's everything is me. I'm the one negotiating. I'm the one telling dudes what kind of hotel I want. You know, I do everything myself.
That's cool. It's very impressive. I feel like that's a lot to juggle, you know, along with performing and traveling. It's like, that's a lot to handle, I bet. You feel like you're kind of used to it by now, or?
Yeah, it's not that complicated. I mean, honestly, like, this stuff is not rocket science. It's like, yo, this is how much I need for the show. This is the type of hotel I need. This is the meals I need. This is the technical router who signed the contract. If it's all in, I'll buy my own flights and I'll book my own hotel. And yeah, it's not that complicated.
That's cool. That's really cool to hear about that. It's like a little look into like a real independent artist and, you know, what goes into that. But I have this one question I ask all my guests. I mean, it is normally a fishing podcast. I'm branching out from that, though. I'm going to interview whoever I want from now on and not really follow those rules. But one thing I always ask the anglers that I have on is, you know, out of all that time traveling, being out there on the water, I guess for you, the equivalent of like being out on tour all over these countries, did you ever have any close calls with death?
No.
Nice.
Thankfully, no.
That's good. You should have heard the guy interviewed last night about how he drove through a hurricane off the coast of Venezuela, almost died. It's a really, really good story. Yeah, sorry. I had to ask it. It's like one of these things I always ask. And the other one I always ask is, do you have any like superstitions around like performing or like anything, like anything that goes in, like any type of superstition that involves like your craft?
I wouldn't say superstitions, but I have like routines where before I get on stage, I like to do 100 jumping jacks and 100 rope skips. But sometimes I might not stick to that number depending on how depleted I am. But my goal is to get my blood flowing and heart rate up before I step on stage. That way I'm not hyperventilating on the first song.
Yeah.
I forcibly make my heart rate go up and my blood get flowing. So when I step out there, I'm already kind of in that active mode. Because back when I used to jog, I noticed that I was the most tired on my jog in the first mile. And then once I hit like the first mile going into the next half mile, my body regulate and then I'm not tired anymore.
Yeah.
So I would try to get my heart rate up to that point before I ever step on stage so that my body's already regulated. I don't do it every single show anymore, but I used to do it every single show.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a great idea.
Some of these shows just don't get me hype enough. Like if I'm in a packed house, it's ram-packed and, you know, the energy is crazy, I'm going to definitely do that because of the adrenaline. It subsides any adrenaline that you might have coming to the surface. It keeps it all, it levels all of the adrenaline out just by you getting the heart rate up.
What show do you think gave you the biggest rush of adrenaline of your career?
There's a bunch of them, but all the big festivals in Europe, like there's the Splash Festival, there's a festival called Hip Hop Open. All of those are big festivals that have the Splash has like up to like 40,000 people. Hip Hop Camp's probably 25,000. Hip Hop Open is probably 8 to 10. There's one called Boogie Down Breda, which is in the Netherlands. And I remember performing there. It was supposed to be a show with me and LOG, and he didn't make the flight. So I had to meet with a DJ the same day of the show, put together a solo show on my own with my laptop, rehearsing with him, and go out there and perform at this festival that had about 6,000 people out there. And it was a triumphant day because the stress of coming in with a plan and you got your whole show laid out, it's you and this other person, and then that person is not there, but they still expect you to perform, and you got to come up with a solo show. Like I'm sitting at breakfast, like trying to put together the show order, you know, the song order. And then from there, going to this DJ's house where I'm meeting for the first time and rehearsing the set. And then to go out there in front of, it was about 6,000 people out there, go out there and do the show by myself and get through it and to get love. It was a super triumphant day for me. So I got a big rush from that day. I have the video of the very end of that show when I was leaving the stage. I still have that
They're
video.
just going crazy.
Yeah, mad love.
Would you ever want somebody to shoot like a documentary on you and like put some of this stuff in there and tell this whole story? I feel like
there's a doc. There's a doc that's been being shot for about the last 7 years. I want to say 7 or 8 years.
Nice. That's what I like.
He's been following me around for at least 8 years, or between 7 and 8 years. He's been following me around. He's been on tour with us a couple times.
And how'd you meet this guy?
That's a good question. He reached out to me. He did the Daylight doc, and he reached out to me right after that Daylight doc came out. He was looking for his next thing, and he heard about my MS diagnosis, and he's like, his mother had MS, and he wanted to know more about how I dealt with it because it seemed like I was flourishing and doing really well with it, and he just wanted to know more about it. So I talked to him over the phone. He's like, I would love to shoot a documentary about your story. And I'm like, all right, well. start shooting then. And
that's it. That's his history.
Yeah. He's been following me for like 8 years.
Yeah, so I read online that said, found out you had MS in 2000, but you didn't reveal it till 2013. Why was that?
Because I wanted to know that, because I knew I was going to do more music at that point. Oh, that was one of the big motivations for why I did Disposable. It was all those other things I said, but in the background, it was that diagnosis. And I was like, I don't know what the future is going to look like. I at least want to get one more album in so I can go out on my own terms, because I really didn't think I was going to be able to. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was assuming that the future wasn't going to be that bright for me to be jumping around on stage anymore. So I just decided to, do this one last album. But I held on to that information because I wanted to know that any love that I got from this new record or any future records from fans and supporters was going to be genuine, and it wasn't going to be pity. It wasn't going to be, oh, I heard about your diagnosis, I feel bad. Your album is dope. Your album is dope. Are you saying it's dope because it's dope? Or are you saying it's dope because you feel sorry for me? So right. I really just wanted it to be genuine love that I knew was genuine. And once I had gotten to that point in 2013, when I felt like, you know what, this is real. Like, people really are checking for what I'm doing. Yeah. And something happened that kind of like pushed me, because I've been thinking about going public for a couple of years, but I just hadn't done it yet. And there was an incident that happened, and when that incident happened, it made me say, this must be God saying it's time. Because all the guys that I traveled with, Marco, Strickland, Angry Merch Guy, everybody who I traveled with, nobody knew about my diagnosis. And I would travel with my injections, on tour, and we were in Czech Republic, and we got pulled over by these cops. And they didn't just pull us over. They made us follow their vehicle to some off-road, like, police facility. And so now we're on, like, police property. And they made us get out of the van, and they pulled every bag out of the van and went through every zipper, every pocket, when I say thorough, they brought dogs, the whole 9 yards. They were just so sure they were going to find drugs. In that search, and that super thorough search was about 2 hours, they found my medication, and they were on the phone reading what it wrote on what it said on the package and calling it in. What is this? After they didn't find any weed or drugs or anything, they let us go. And the guys in the Marco, I think he was the one that stepped up and was like, yo, what was that stuff they found? And at that point, I just told the guys in the van what it was. Our driver, Maria, and Marco, and Strick, and Steve, the Angry Merch Guy. And that was my first time saying it out loud. Was like, I got emotional because I never really said it out loud before. So after that was when I decided when I got back from that tour that I was going to, go public with it.
Wow, man, that's crazy. Fucking police just targeted you guys, it sounds like.
Yeah, they targeted us 100%.
Like, they definitely, followed you from the venue, for sure. Had it all set up. But
it was on the highway. They because our boy Strick was sitting in the front. Maria, German girl, white German girl driving. Strick, dark-skinned black dude from the U.S. They saw that combination. It didn't look right to them.
Like something's off here.
Yeah, something's off.
Fucking unbelievable. So, how has that affected your career? That diagnosis?
I mean, it forced me to make the best album of my career and give myself a 20-year extension on a career that probably should have been over back in 95, 96.
Wow. Man, it's funny how life works. Really funny. How are you feeling these days? All right? Everything all good?
Yeah, I feel good. I go to the gym about 3 days a week.
Nice.
I stay active and moving, and
when's the next tour?
Lift weights.
When's the next tour?
Probably in the fall of next year.
How long have you been on the road for now?
You mean like actively touring?
Yeah, like actively touring, yeah.
So that tour in 2000 was the beginning of active touring, like going out to Europe 3 to 4 times, or 2 to 3 times, I should say, a year. Like long tours, like 15 plus shows. So 24 years.
It's incredible. 24 years.
Coming up on 25, yeah.
What would you say is like one of the craziest things you've seen out on the road? All that time logged on the road, driving around.
I think one of the craziest things is the phenomenon when I'm in like Norway or Finland, that part of the world. They call it Scandinavia, right? During the summer, it doesn't get dark until like 11:30 at night. So we're coming back from the show at 1 a.m. and the sun is just starting to go down at 1 a.m. And then 2 hours later at 3 a.m., the sun is coming back up.
That's wild.
But then in the winter, it's opposite. In the winter, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's already pitch black out. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's already pitch black out.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you've seen it at like all the seasons over there. That's so many times you've been there. What about, you ever been to New Zealand?
I have. I actually paraglided for the first and only time of my life. Me and Marco Polo went paragliding.
Oh, do you guys have a video of that? I want to see that.
We do have video of that.
Is that in the documentary? That's got to be in the documentary, man.
Oh, well, he wasn't following me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they could patch it in, edit it in somehow.
Yeah. That does exist. It's somewhere. I have it.
Isn't that place crazy? I went there one time. It was pretty.
Yeah, we were in Queenstown, which is like they call it the extreme sports capital of the world.
Wow.
You can bungee jump. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do. I wasn't bungee jumping, but
there's a whole bunch of ways to die there. Pretty much.
Exactly.
What's like some of the most random countries you played where like you've never gone back to? Like
Reykjavik, Iceland.
Reykjavik, Iceland. What was that one like?
There's like literally zero black people there. Zero. But I did an in-store at the mall. To my surprise, I did an in-store at the mall, and when we got there was like 50 kids lined up outside the store waiting to get something signed. I didn't expect that. Like Iceland?
Wow. That must have felt so cool. Honestly, you're probably like, this is awesome. I'm reaching kids all over the world with this.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, man.
That's probably the coldest weather I've ever felt, like outside walking.
Have you ever gone down to like South America with it, to like Brazil or anything?
I've been to Brazil. Yep. I've been to Brazil. I've been to Colombia. I've been to Brazil, Colombia, Santiago, Chile. And I've been to, it's one more in South America that I've been to. But yeah.
Are there any places you still want to go?
Yes, Asia. I haven't been to Asia. I haven't been to Japan, China, none of that.
Oh, you gotta hit Japan. I figured you would have hit that already.
Yeah, me too.
Because they love hip hop over there.
And everybody tells me, like, I have fans there. Like, they love my music. They hear my music when they're over there. I'm like, okay, well, when's somebody gonna bring me? Because I'm ready.
You gotta hit that, man.
We've been the last 5 years. We've been saying it's gonna happen soon. It's gonna happen soon. We'll see.
Are you playing that festival on the West Coast that's coming up with like that guy Sick Jackin' and those other crazy dudes?
I just did a festival with Sick Jackin'.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, it looked like a really good lineup. I saw it on Instagram.
It was Souls of Mischief, Raekwon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on that bill.
Yeah, no. I think I saw it from you posting it.
Okay, I thought you said it was something. There's another one.
Oh no, I didn't know it passed. I saw it I saw the ad for it. Like I think like late November maybe.
Yeah, it passed already.
How was that? Big crowd?
Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
It was good energy. It was a good crowd.
Who was the headliner of that one?
Raekwon.
Oh, Raekwon. Okay. He had a really interesting interview on Rogan. You should check that out if you have time. It was a pretty good one.
Okay.
But yeah, man, that was every question I had. I know I'm going to think of some shit as I'm like falling asleep tonight and be like, man, I should ask him that. But I know I can always text you, which is cool.
You covered a lot of bases, brother.
We got a lot done, right?
Yes.
Solid 2 hours. Yeah. Yeah, man. So, listen, Ace, I appreciate your time so much, and I have so much respect for you in terms of everything you've done for hip hop and just who you are as a person, taking the time to, always be cool to me. Since the day I met you, just treated me like, anybody else. And I've been a fan of you for years. I'll be a fan of you forever. My son will be a fan of yours when he gets a little bit older. He's only 2, but I'll be playing him Masta Ace, bro.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. That's very, very nice.
Should take you out fishing sometime, bro. This summer, we should hit Sheepshead Bay. We should do it.
I'm not opposed to it. If it's the right time of year, I'm not opposed to it.
Maybe we'll get Sway too. I got to get him back out there. Yeah, that trip I took him on, we each caught like 20 striped bass. It was incredible. really good day. So yeah, man, we'll be in touch, and we'll definitely try to set that up. Thank you again for calling in. I really appreciate it.
You got it, man. Take care.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Later.
Hey, don't you walk on me.